Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Paranormal Pete Show. I'm your host, Pete Orbea. We're on WLTK-DB.com right there. We're also streaming to all the major platforms on social media. Thanks for joining me. This is episode 44, November 16th, and it's the one-year anniversary of the show. So thanks so much to everybody out there for the support, and want to thank station manager Todd Bates and for all he does for the show and the station website and the whole station. And he's been a great mentor for me in this. And but big shout out to Todd and his show Haunted Voices. I also want to thank my producer Mike Beers, good friend. He's joined the show in a producer role, and look forward to bringing you guys some really awesome programming over the course of this next year. And of course, I'd like to thank each and every guest who's been on the show. I've certainly learned a lot and got to hear a lot of different perspectives. And I think it's just, I've been very lucky. So thanks to each and every guest out there, and thanks to each and every person who maybe you catch the live stream each week on Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific, or if you catch the archive version, that's awesome too. You can find this show pretty much everywhere you get your favorite podcast, and it's usually the day after that the archive is up. You can find it on the station website too. And if you haven't been there, go to WLTK-DB.com and please check out the other shows that are on the station. There's a lot of great content throughout the whole week. And so I hope you're not missing out on all that good stuff there. Also asking if you want to say hi, where you're from. We'd love that. Oh, Linda Myers. She's saying hello. Hey. All right. Thanks, Linda. Linda's been a guest as well. But wherever you're listening from or watching from, say hi out there. I would encourage questions tonight. For this special 1-year show, and if you just go ahead and comment and we'll see it and I'll put it up there. And I'm running the background here tonight on this, so see me looking around because I'm trying to find buttons. But thanks everybody for joining tonight, and we're going to get right into it here because I've got some very special guests tonight and longtime friends in the field of paranormal and beyond. And there's Mike right there. Hey, Michael, thank you very much. And thanks for everything you do for the show. And we'll give you shout outs if you comment on there. But so I got very special guests, longtime friends in the paranormal field and just beyond that as well. I feel like these are some guys that I've learned a lot from over the years. And when I talk about on the show, every good investigator should have people around them that are credible and have integrity. And these guys definitely fit that mold to a T. And so I'm very happy to bring these guys on tonight. They are part of the League of Extrasensory Gentlemen and do all kinds of great stuff. Let's bring them on, Mr. Michael White and Mr. Ben Robison. Hey, guys.
Hey, Pete. How you doing, man?
Hey, well, thanks for joining me tonight. We're sorry we're missing a few of the guys from the league, but we'll be thinking of them, and they'll be here in spirit.
That's right.
Nicely played.
Yeah. So Michael is longtime investigator and researcher. Has PRI, Paranormal Research and Investigations. Also, one of the members of the league here. Michael, tell us a little bit about what you do in the paranormal field, and then we'll throw it over to Ben.
Okay. Well, basically, I approach unexplained activity in a pragmatic way, which is a little bit different than somebody who's going out ghost hunting. So most of my experience has been discovering natural causation for what people mistakenly call paranormal activity. That doesn't necessarily mean that paranormal activity doesn't exist, but just a lot of it that's called paranormal isn't.
Excellent.
That's kind of what I bring.
Yeah, that's great. And I love the point of view and the emphasis on pragmatic. Yeah, that's missing. That's missing a lot out there. And our next guest, Ben Robison from Autonomous Studies of the Enigmatic and Paranormal. How'd you like that? I said that fast and right on.
Good
So,
job. Good job.
Ben, you've been a longtime investigator too. Tell everybody a little bit about what you do in the paranormal field.
Well, first off, I'm going to say, don't ask Michael to ever say ASAP in his long form like he just did, because he
I
struggled.
can't do it.
Yeah, he can't do it. No, you know, as far as the way we do things at ASAP, we kind of try to keep a critical lens on all the time, meaning anything that comes across the desk, anything that comes across any piece of equipment that we're using, we don't make an assumption right off the bat that it's got to be supernatural in origin.
Sure.
We try to look at things further, see if we can explain them. Very rarely do we find ourselves in a situation where we're debunking, and a lot of people use that term, but I think they have been a little bit misled by the way its actual use should be. And that's just in situations where we think somebody is misleading us on purpose. Right. And then we actually figure out that they're doing that. That would be debunking them. And so we do that when that does arise. But like I said, it's very rare. So
yeah.
I am different. I'm a contrast from Michael in that respect. I'm actually a believer in the paranormal. I believe in spirits. I believe in ghosts, only because of my experiences and things like that. But I love working with Michael because of the fact that he kind of keeps things grounded and a little bit centered in that respect. It keeps us a little focused and on our toes. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that. Someone like I'm a believer as well, and you got to have people around you that kind of keep your head out of the clouds.
Yeah, agreed.
And right there, yeah, no, that's awesome. So you mentioned the term debunking, which when it's defined, you do kind of have to go, that's not really the right thing to say. So what would be a good term that you use? Is it like what Michael was saying, instead of using the term debunking, is it, finding natural causation, or other causation of unexplained activity? Yeah.
Absolutely. It's just an explanation, whether it's, man-made, some other enigma of its own, to the potential, of something that may be deemed paranormal in some fashion. It's important to try to distinguish that, and make sure that I don't know. I guess I find too often the term is used blatantly.
Yeah.
When it shouldn't be.
Yeah. It's just kind of a blanket term. I think everyone's just kind of been trained or led to using, and it does make sense until you define it. When you just hear it, it sounds right. So no, that's a good explanation. So now you guys are a part of the conglomerate of League of Extrasensory Gentlemen. You all have different backgrounds and different different teams and the things that you're coming from. What's been like, oh, there's Mike. Hey, Michael. Thanks for commenting, guys. And if anyone has questions, put them up on the station chat, or wherever you're watching from, just comment that and we'll see it. So what's kind of, been the coolest part about all you guys from different teams and different backgrounds? What's been kind of the coolest part that you guys have enjoyed and learned from in forming this group, and how you guys work together?
Well, I think just the fact that we're all approaching it very competently yet we all have a different perspective, and different philosophies.
Mm.
And what I really love, especially about being in the league, is that everyone respects each other. So even when somebody comes up with something that we might not agree with, it's still considered, as a possibility. Of course, depending on the situation, but
Michael typically laughs at my ideas, but
But I'm guessing then he thinks about it and then
right.
eventually accepts it.
Yeah, exactly. I'll think about it and I'll say, well, maybe feeding mayonnaise to tuna fish does make sense. But no, I mean, I don't think I've ever been with a group of people that I've respected as highly, and even when we have differing opinion.
Yeah.
And Neil coming to us with a very solid understanding and background in parapsychology.
Yeah.
And both Casey and Ben coming, with experience and fantastic ideas, and Jay coming to us with, his own experiences from being on the that television show. What was the name of I Dream of Jeannie? And
Ghost Mine, if you didn't know.
Oh yeah, that's it.
I Dream of Jeannie.
I was wondering what you were going to say.
Yeah, I mean, still, everybody's still coming from a different walk of life, so to speak, and a different set of values and perspectives. And I think it's really good because no situation of unexplained activity is ever the same as another location or another event. So having people that have differing ways of looking at the situation helps us come up with some problem solving that's pretty unique.
Indeed. Ben, did you want to add anything there?
Not much to add because I echo everything that Michael just said. The only thing I guess I'd say extra to it would be that, having everybody come from a different paradigm essentially makes us more powerful in what we're doing. Not powerful like, as a paranormal group out there, just more powerful in what we're trying to accomplish team wise, having that gelling, that camaraderie, and that analytical approach, I think all just makes a good, nice, solid team. So
yeah, when you were saying that, Ben, I just couldn't help but think Wonder Twin powers activate. Or it's like Voltron.
Yeah,
that's for Casey, by the way.
Yeah, that's a shout out to that comic nerd.
Well, I think you guys touched on something really cool, and that was the respect for each other, even when there's differing opinions. And I think that's like one of the most important things, because whether you have a paranormal team or whether you're a scientist working in a laboratory with other scientists, you've got to have the respect and the ability to listen to others and listen ideas, because I don't think science is, it's not defined. It is in a way, but it's limitless, I think, because we just don't know everything. And so the fact that, you guys can come with different ideas and different perspectives on something, it might jar a thought in somebody else. It might, cause, you guys to move in a certain direction or whatever. So, I think it's leaving your ego is kind of another way to say it, and there's so many big egos out there, especially, in the paranormal field, and it's hard to leave it behind, I'm guessing Michael has a hard time if he's laughing over there.
No, I was just going to say, when you're as cool as we are.
Yeah, right.
Hard work, guys, determination, and lots of practice someday.
Fake it till you make it, dude. Fake it till you make it. No, I agree, though. I mean, honestly, it is about ego.
Yes.
Each one of us come into this situation being the league, and we have utmost respect for each other. We want to listen. We want to be heard as well.
Yeah.
But we also want our opinion to matter, and it does. And it does naturally and organically within the group. And I nobody ever asked to try to make it that way. It was one of those things. It just clicked right away.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's very lucky to come into a situation like that and not have to really work at getting things to click. We had a comment here from Mike Beers. It's unscientific to dismiss something because it doesn't fit your worldview. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when you run into a situation of almost being like a cynic.
Mm-hmm.
You just dismiss it because I don't know what that noise is.
That's my daughter texting me. Sorry.
Thought you were playing some guitar over there. Yeah. Hey, so we had a question from Linda Myers. Can you guys explain how the league came to be? So we just kind of talked about what it is. Give us a little about how it came to be, because it's a great story and hopefully inspires other people to do similar. Maybe.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Honestly, it was. Let's see. It kind of became about as a result of what Neil had done during my bachelor party. So I had a bachelor party, and instead of doing the typical thing where you go to clubs and all that stuff, I didn't want to do that. I was, I wanted to do something fun, and Casey Goodwin, being my best man, chose or reached out, I believe, right, Michael? Did he reach out to you guys? Yes. Okay. And worked out a deal with Katie over at the Old Wheeler Hotel. We rented it out, and we had my bachelor party, but we did an investigation. And when we showed up, everybody was, saying hi and everything. And Neil brought some very, very thoughtful gifts. And I'm trying to remember everything that's in it right now, but it was a surname for everybody. It was, there was like an iron nail, some silver. Man, you're really testing me now. I feel horrible. There was a lot of little items in it,
right?
That meant something, and Neil explained that to us, and he gave us all a name, and from there, and I mean, he called us affectionately. He called us the League of Extrasensory Gentlemen, and from there, it really kind of became a thing. Yeah. We decided to make the Facebook page. We were like, okay, it's not really a group, like there's nobody that can. I mean, it's kind of like the Hotel California. You don't get to leave. I mean, unless you die, and I don't even know if then. I don't know, but
yeah, it's like a gang. You get jumped in, and
right.
Blood in, blood out.
Yeah, blood in, blood out, dude. But yeah, that's kind of how it became.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a cool story, and the fact that you guys, didn't really have to work at making it work. That's a very, very lucky thing. And yeah. So, hey, we're going to take a station break here on WLTK-DB.com, and we're on the Paranormal Pete Show. When we come back, we're going to talk about some projects with the League of Extrasensory Gentlemen with Ben and Michael here. And we're going to do some toasting as well for these guys, and also the 1-year anniversary of this show.
Okay.
Can't believe I made it to a year. So when we come back here in just a second, we will do some toasting, and we'll see you on the flip side. Hang on.
Looking to launch your new masterpiece? Then try something new with Moonbow Publishing and Publications. At Moonbow, we have a strong desire to serve authors in a powerful and meaningful way. After all, you've poured your heart and soul into your writing, and we fully understand and respect that. Remember this: you will own the copyright to your work. You will have the final say on your work before published. Even after all of that, we've saved the best for last. We won't take a percentage sold. Nope, not a penny. Excited about MoonbowPublications.com yet? We thought so. Take advantage of our company's services like book editing, formatting, and covers, publishing, and photography. Moonbow Publishing and Publications has everything you're looking for in a company. Remember, we will not keep any commissions. We are a boutique publishing company focusing on spiritual, health and wellness, and personal growth genres. So come and see what we can do for you at MoonbowPublications.com. That's MoonbowPublications.com. Moonbow Publications, a new kind of publishing company.
All right, welcome back to the show, Paranormal Pete Show. I'm your host, Pete Orbea, and we're on WLTK-DB.com. And I hope you all check out all of the other shows on this station. There's a lot of great programming every day of the week, Monday through Friday. So there's a lot of great content there. And Linda threw a comment up there on during the break. They're all amazing, extraordinary.
Thanks, Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
Yeah. And, I'll encourage everybody to ask questions throughout the show here. And we're going to talk about some different subjects, but it's always fun to answer questions too. So put them up there on the station chat if you're watching on the station, or wherever you're watching or listening from. Just comment, and we'll go from there. But so before the break, we're talking about the League of Extrasensory Gentlemen, who you guys are, how it came together, and all that stuff. And you guys had a big announcement today that you guys put out, and I'll say that I'm bummed, but also excited to see what your future holds. You guys have been working on a documentary past couple of years, the Permanence of Paranormal Case Study on the old Wheeler Hotel in Wheeler, Oregon. And in your announcement, you said you've just decided to shelve it.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about the background of that documentary, and then I want to, what was the coolest thing you guys took away from this experience, or taking away from this experience? But give us a little background on it, and then we'll talk about some of the cool stuff that you guys have gotten from it.
Would you like to go first, Ben?
No, I was going to let you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'll tell you the biggest takeaway that we got. But how long have we been working on this, Ben? Now, since your bachelor?
5 years.
So it was 5 years of film school. Is what it was. I think that it was a very good learning process, because the old Wheeler Hotel and Katie Brombrink is great. So we were never in jeopardy like a television program might have been, where if they have difficulty, filming at the location, or any kind of conflict or something like that with the location, we really didn't have to worry about that, because everybody was so flexible, and everybody cared about each other. So we had advantages there, and we learned about filming in low light, and also some of us took classes in actual cinematography.
Nice.
None of us actually quit our jobs and went to the university, but I mean, we did actually get some formal, instruction in that, and how to make our film look better.
Right.
I think we all learned a little bit. Everybody learned a little of something different. I really learned that the one thing that you can't do around the league is leave your phone unattended.
Yeah.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
But I mean, there were a lot of great things that came out of those 5 years, and also, you know, how to photograph as well as investigate and document an investigation through cinematic means. You know, can be problematic, but we found ways around it, you know.
Yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
honestly, there's no regrets on anything. It's been a great experience for the 5 years. It was, you know, hard work. It was a lot of a learning curve. But the takeaway really is that we know we can make a great documentary. You know, it's just the stars got to align and be there for us, you know, and what we do. We grew together as a group, and I think that's I mean, invaluable, really, the time we had together over the 5 years. So yeah, there's some good takeaways.
Yeah, that's great. And Casey had commented, "What's up, gent? Sorry I couldn't be there tonight, but I am tuned in. Cheers to your 100th trophy." Oh, thanks, Casey. We miss you, man.
Yep.
Thanks for watching. And also a big shout out to Michael Lecciana. He's been a guest on the show, the Heritage Hunters, and he's got a show on Amazon Prime. Anxiously awaiting episode 2 to come out. And if people haven't checked it out, go to Amazon Prime and check it out. I like how he investigates and documents and collects his evidence as well, much like you guys. And I think, Michael, that was a great point you hit, you know, documenting through cinematic means. I think that's really a cool part of it. And gosh, you know, I know you guys said there's going to be another announcement after in the new year coming up. God, I can't believe this year's flown by, but whew, what the world. So, well, let's do a toast to the project, to the Permanence of Paranormal Case Study at the Old Wheeler Hotel. Toast to that. It was always enjoyable to see what you guys were putting out, and look forward to cheers to future projects.
Okay.
And toast to you guys for all the work you put in, and thanks for sharing what you did along the way.
Hey, happy 100th show, Pete.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, we're mixing our spirits up tonight, guys.
Oh no.
Sorry, bad paranormal joke.
Bound to be some ghostly activity because of it.
Yeah, exactly. I got pushed down, you know. So hey, so I thought of some topics I wanted to ask you guys about tonight, and to get your guys' different perspectives on it. Much like, you know, we kind of do it a round table and at the Port Gamble Ghost Conference, that type of thing.
Right.
And great seeing both of you guys there at the conference. It went way better than I thought it was going to. I wasn't sure how it was going to go because it was a rush to put it together. And
You guys did great.
I will tell you right now, it did not seem like it was rushed together.
all right,
mean,
well, good.
From what I saw, it was seamless and
Oh, good.
good lineup.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, you know, with the way things have been, you know, the past couple of years, I wasn't quite sure, you know, what to expect, but I was very humbled and honored to host the conference. So appreciate you guys being there. And Michael did a presentation, and so thanks for everything you added to it. And both you guys are always such good friends of the conference, so just want to thank you guys for that.
Thank you.
And
Honored.
looking forward now to Seaside, Oregon, for the Oregon Ghost Conference. I think it's March 25th through 27th, and Oh, thanks, Kristen. She had a great time with the conference. Thanks for listening, by the way, too. And another comment. I'm doing too many things at once here.
So you said
Oh,
that,
thanks, Michael.
what was the date you said for the?
I think it's March 25th through 27th,
okay.
2022, down in Seaside. So check out OregonGhostConference.com. And
I think
just
speaker applications are due by the end of the month, if I remember right.
Holy smokes. Well, if you want to be a speaker, go to OregonGhostConference.com. I'll put that up here so everyone can see it. Okay. It should go up there. Okay. Perfect. All right. So check that out. That's coming up. I mentioned during the Port Gamble conference, I feel like both the Port Gamble and the Oregon conference are just, they complement each other in different ways. And so either way, I think you always can learn a lot and have the opportunity to learn a lot. And that's, meeting other people and learning stuff. That's what these conferences are all about. So definitely check it out. You guys are always involved with that one as well. And so if you want to meet these guys in person, that's a good place to do it. So OregonGhostConference.com. So getting into some of the topics I wanted to talk about. One thing I wanted to bring up with you guys, just to get your thoughts and perspective on, is the term poltergeist and poltergeist activity, because I think similarly to how the term debunking is thrown around, I think the term poltergeist is kind of thrown around. Michael, I'd like to start with you. How would you define a poltergeist?
Well, poltergeist activity. Okay, a poltergeist is just German for a noisy ghost. But the actual activity associated with poltergeist is surrounded by a living person who is causing the activity. It doesn't have anything to do with a ghost per se.
Okay.
So, and I think the reason why people kind of get lost as far as what a poltergeist is because of, the movies and the television
Right.
shows and all of that. That's kind of taking it into the realm of horror and the supernatural thriller,
right,
sort of thing. Which is that's fine. That's all cool, but that's not reality. That's fiction. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, there are a lot of terms out there that are misused, and some of them originating from various television shows started by ex-plumbers. But if anyone ever really wants to just get a clue before they start, I mean, I'm not pushing my book here, but I am pushing this one. Okay.
Yep.
A great book.
Everybody can see that?
Yeah, I have that one too. I'm in the first stages of it here. I'm getting into it.
This will give you the background information to go out and be a responsible investigator.
Yeah.
That there are a lot of other books too, but I mean, really, if you just start with this one,
yeah,
you can't go wrong. And even then, if you just open it up and look up what a poltergeist is, it'll go through all of that and all the activities and all of the studies that have been done.
Right.
Yeah. It doesn't have anything to do with a ghost, and it isn't something that follows you home from an investigation. And other silly stories. Go ahead.
I was just going to add that, there was, I think, a couple parapsychologists, William Roll being one of them, that had believed that, there's an agent that helps cause this activity that people think is, preternatural maybe. But like, for example, they believe that it was psychokinesis that was causing the phenomenon to happen. And I always thought that was fascinating. In my personal view, I I don't hear a lot of people use the word poltergeist much anymore, but when they do, they usually do use it wrong, and they're referring to
Sure.
what they think is ghostly activity. So, you know, there is that, but I don't hear it a lot anymore.
Okay. So in general, you're just kind of, you think the terms kind of, people are kind of catching on, or, you know, or it's just something they don't, it's not something to talk about, or what makes you think that people aren't using that term as much anymore?
Right, Casey?
Yeah, well, I'm seeing what Casey was talking about as well. Yeah, I honestly, I think the reason why most people aren't using the term is demon has kind of taken over the terminology. And so I think most people like to just default and go demon.
Right.
So I think that's what's popular right now. Whereas poltergeist in the 70s, 80s may have been more of the go-to term.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, we have a new term.
Yeah. Demons.
Demons everywhere. Galore.
Yeah, it just to throw in for the context, Casey Goodwin had commented he always preferred the term recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis, RSPK, which was coined by researcher William G. Roll back in the 1950s. So Ben, you mentioned him. That I think that term sounds cooler than poltergeist, to be honest.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
you know.
Now, I do want to point out that Casey is typing this in traction. He's actually reclined,
yeah,
and locked in, and he's typing all of this like that. And I really commend that he typed that much in that position.
He's like Tommy Lee in Motley Crue. Spinning around. And Mike Beer says thank you for posting Lloyd's book there. Yeah, that's I'm enjoying it so far.
It's a great book.
Casey. Yep, laugh out loud, upside down, whatever that acronym is. Well, I think that's a great thought, Ben, that the term demons kind of taken things over, because it really has. You know, when you talk to people, you know, who don't investigate the paranormal or research or anything like that, that is kind of the new thing. And what I share with people from my point of view and where I'm coming from is, you know, more and more I have to come from a medium perspective, just because I, you know, called into that. I don't know about demons. Sure, maybe that stuff's out there, but I feel like if there is a spirit in a place and it's negative activity, I just call them grumpies, because I feel like you take your personality with you. So if you're an a-hole in life, you're going to be an a-hole and do a-hole things on that side of things. You know, it makes sense.
I've always told the story, if you don't mind me sharing a quick story real quick,
Yeah.
But I've always told the story that, you know, there's Fred, and he lives in this house, and he's an old guy who's super grumpy and doesn't even like it when the local parish stops by to, you know, offer him to come over for, you know, service or some kind of function. He's just antisocial, right?
Yeah.
Well, Fred dies. And then Fred's house goes up for sale, and the Johnsons move in, and the Johnsons are deciding, hey, we want to do something to the home. Or just being there makes Fred upset, because he's not a people person. Yeah. So if the spirit is coinciding in the location where we live, and we carry on our personalities, then I think that's very plausible that you could have a situation where you have a grumpy old man, you know, doing things that kind of scare your family because they don't understand what's going on. But but I guess the last thing I was going to say to that was, but people default to saying, oh, it's a demon.
Yeah,
definitely a demon.
And who knows, you know, what the next term is going to be, you know, in another 10 years. you
Right.
know, what the next thing is going to be. And by the way, is the gentleman in your story, is Fred an alias, and possibly his name is Michael? Um,
How'd you guess?
just figuring.
There you go.
I know him. I can do that. No.
Exactly.
And Linda had commented, recumbent spontaneous Casey. Yes.
Exactly. Poor guy.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, I just wanted to get that out there because it seems to me that, a lot of people lump things into poltergeist activity, and I've had some readings I've done for people, where they've had stuff going on in their house, and have kind of eliminated this, checked things off, and come up with, there was a couple of cases I've had where I think it was true poltergeist activity, because people had experienced some traumas recently and going through some crazy stuff, and so they had things moving, in their house, objects, moving, and it was just cool to be like, okay, I think this is actually RSPK
Mhm.
and not spirit activity. And so I think there's plenty of that out there. It's just kind of stopping and, slowing yourself down, and well, coming at it with critical thinking, and, trying to come. I don't know if you can say pragmatic approach and psychic medium in the same sentence, but trying to find somewhere in between, you know.
Sure.
Um, at least that was my take on it. So I thank you guys for helping define that, because I think that's, well, now we got to deal with demon, but or malevolent spirit, and I
Great,
think,
I opened a can of worms.
yeah,
Can
exactly.
of demons. I'm sorry, my bad.
Yeah, I don't want people to get me wrong, because there could be, I just haven't experienced it, and maybe thankfully so, but some people have, strange experiences where it might be a non-human type spirit or a non-human based energy. I'm not saying that stuff is completely not accurate, but I think there is people who do have strange experiences where, a priest should get involved, that sort of thing. But I'm not even going to touch all that, because I am no expert in any of that. But
Well, and neither am I. And I would like to say that, as a believer, I've had things happen in my life that make me think that there's a possibility that demonic entities could be out there. But I just think that's like almost never happens. It's super rare. But again, we don't have any proof of any of this being the case at all. So I mean, it's kind of moot, to say, hey, I think demons are real. I mean,
and that's the crux of all of it,
yeah,
is there's plenty of evidence out there, but we don't have the proof. And like what came up, a few times at the ghost conference, there's no meter out there that is a ghost detector.
Right.
right.
And so since we don't have that, and it's not an exact science, at least not yet, I think, yeah, Ben, I think your point of view is right on, but we got
I
to have
definitely think
proof
it's
one
like
way or the other.
yeah, and I definitely think it's kind of the middle of the road. I mean, I just happen to fall that way, but yeah, I think it's somewhere in the possibility of being a possibility,
Yeah.
but it's it's again, it's like we don't have any proof, so why are we
But keeping an open mind is the important thing.
yeah.
In,
Yes.
in
Oh, of course.
scientific research and paranormal research,
Yeah,
wherever
you
those
don't want to
blend, having an open mind. Yeah.
you don't want to do a disservice to your own research by having a closed mind. Obviously, you see certain things. I mean, Michael and I and Casey and Jay and Neil, we've all had our people come to us, and we're like, we've seen the same kind of I guess claims is best way. They come off very crazy at first, and then as you drill in and you ask the questions, they change. It becomes more explainable or understandable.
Sure.
What are you laughing at, Michael?
Well, some of them stay crazy.
Yeah, some of them. You're right. Okay, that's why you're laughing. Yeah, some of them do, but
you don't know until you drill in.
Exactly. You have to do your due diligence. You have to ask questions. I try not to just shut somebody down right out of the gates because they do come across pretty out there, right? But I try to hear them out. I try to understand where they're coming from. But there's often times you're able to discern what's going on with their situation pretty quickly.
Yeah, right.
And it's not ghostly.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. A ghost has appeared in the studio here.
What?
There he is.
Oh, look at this guy.
Out of traction.
The ibuprofen's kicked in.
Yay.
Hey, Casey,
Good.
how you doing, man?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Thanks for coming on, even though you're not feeling well. Lots of drugs. Here, I'll toast to you, Casey, for coming on. Thanks.
I got water.
I have water.
Right on. So, Linda Myers posted a question here, and I think this always kind of needs some defining as well. From a parapsychological term, it's different than residual haunting. So could you guys talk? She says, what do you guys think of residual haunting? And Michael, you go first.
Actually, I was going to say, Ben and I have just been dominating this conversation and we totally left Casey out. So maybe Casey should answer this one.
Excellent.
Thanks, guys.
Put you on the spot, buddy.
To me, the term residual haunting is kind of a redundancy because a haunting is something that's residual, something that's kind of sticking around. I've experienced it several times in many different locations. And it's something if people aren't familiar with hauntings, they're essentially things that are attached to a specific time or specific date. And they just kind of play as a recording. And so it's funny because I hear the term all the time on TV shows and in movies and all that stuff. But I mean, if you're looking at it from a parapsychological point of view, it's just a haunting.
Right.
And that's one thing that I really respected about the movie Poltergeist is they did some bit of research when they actually filmed that movie, because they do refer to hauntings as something that just kind of plays over and over again. Right.
Yeah, I've got a great example of that, and it's in the Walker Ames house when me and a small tour group saw an apparition, and what made it the haunting part of it for me was we heard a noise, and so I turned around, and the woman was standing almost right behind me, just right over my right shoulder. And when I turned, my flashlight beam hit her right in the eyeballs, and she didn't react. She didn't react to me. She didn't react to anybody else. She was just looking straight ahead. And she didn't look in our direction or anything. And then she just vanished. And kind of after digesting that experience, because we all, of course, went and gasped, and then she disappeared. After thinking about it for a while, I thought, so that was an apparition. I think that's what it was. But what made it a haunt, it kind of clicked for me as far as what the defining of residual haunting or just a haunting was. It was like unaware of us, and so it was just like a piece of time in history where this woman stood there, and maybe she did that every day, at a certain time or whatever. But it was the fact that she was like did not even she wasn't aware of us, and so it was just a little snippet in time. I thought that was just really cool. It was a neat experience. Scared the crap out of me, but you know. And by the way, let's back up just a second here. Linda says, "Oh, maybe a better term than residual." Yeah, I think so. As far as the history behind all of that. Casey, welcoming you to the show. You jumped in. I saw it. I was like, boom, got to get him in here.
I'm very not punctual. It's always there's a cool guy who always shows up late to the party, right?
Yeah, fashionably late. Yeah. Hey, no worries. I appreciate you being on. And Casey's a co-founder of Oregon Paranormal. And if you're interested in what his team does as well, it's OregonParanormal.com. And Casey also happened to be my first guest on this show when we started a year ago.
Yeah.
The whole year's gone by. Holy smokes.
Yeah, they go by a lot quicker nowadays.
Oh, God. The older you get, the faster it goes.
Yeah.
Whether you're having fun or not.
Yeah.
The term "time flies" when you're having fun. That's bullshit. Whether you're having fun or not, it goes fast. But glad you made it, Casey. And I just want to point out that you were my first guest on the show. And so now you're on the year anniversary, and so
nice.
we'll have to make it a tradition, but have you on more often than that. But welcome to the show. And then, there's Mike. There you go. Hey, brother. Glad you made it.
What's up, Michael?
Keep the comments coming and the questions as well. Michael, yes.
So I have a problem with hauntings, especially those replaying things. Something in that environment must be holding that image, because if it was just energy, it does not make sense. And the reason why I say it doesn't make sense,
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, I think I spoke about this at the conference too. Yeah. The space that I was in when this show started, several minutes ago. How many minutes have we been on now?
52.
Okay, so almost an hour. Okay, that's almost 1,000 miles away. The actual physical space, because the Earth has been turning. So you've got a lot of things going on. The Earth's turning at about 1,000 miles an hour. Plus you got the Earth traveling around the sun. Plus you got the sun spinning around the Milky Way galaxy, which is, heading away from event 1. So that space where I was sitting down initially when you introduced me is floating around in space somewhere. So how does an event that occurs in a particular building continually arise where people are seeing it year after year or day after day, depending on what the haunting is?
Right.
Because Zach Baggins said so.
Oh. Never mind.
I was gonna say, damn it, I got to rethink everything now.
I think that's.
So, as humans, we have a tendency to always view everything as static. Somebody walk in and say, well, did you take a temperature in that room? Yeah, it was 68 degrees. Well, nothing's static. Okay. There's always airflow. There's always changes in temperature, density, and everything else.
So on that thought, then, if nothing stays static, could you apply that to whatever a spirit is? Electromagnetic fields, whatever energy it is, could you apply, if nothing is static, is it possible that for example, what I saw and thought, this is a repeat in time. Well, we're obviously, how you explained it's great, because we're obviously not in anywhere the same place that house has been in the past. So being that it's not static, maybe even if it appears to what we can comprehend as a repeat of a piece of history, but it's actually has some intelligence, or I don't know what you would call it, to stick with that location. As you mentioned, something in the location would have to be holding something there. If that's not an option, maybe because energy, our energy, whatever happens to us when our shell passes away and dies, that's not going to be static either, right?
Correct.
I
Okay.
think that there's a huge misconception when talking about residuals and everything. And so many people think that a residual, or I'm saying residual now, a haunting is associated
Drugs.
with somebody who's dead. And a lot of times what we're seeing is, like you said, Pete, we're seeing something that for whatever reason's been recorded on that particular location while that person was alive. So in a sense, we are looking, or we are seeing a form of a historical event. I think the difficult part for us is figuring out what are those environmental factors that cause those kind of situations to
Right.
occur,
Mhm.
and how long do those situations last?
Right.
Yeah. No.
Because they're usually just as we experience them, snippets.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, you've got two different holes lined up and they're moving around. And when they finally line up, you allow that light to get through. It's almost like something like that has to line up and allow
Right.
that energy to kind of come through.
Right.
Yeah.
Michael makes a very good point about that. The way things aren't static in that respect.
Yeah.
That's very fascinating.
Yeah. And I think even building, I forgot what I was going to say. Never mind. It was something that Casey was saying, and I was like, oh,
I
well,
say a lot
it's
of
like, how
things.
do we, and there's like, you're talking about what environmental factors or what's lining up, has been saying, or the stars aligned or whatever. It's
Right.
like, how do we even detect that? How do we even know what factors there are? Unless do you guys know of any studies of what environmental factors have taken place where more activity has been experienced, or how do we even know what environmental factors would play into an experience like we had where the woman just appeared, or what we perceived as a woman appeared out of nowhere, and all of us saw the same thing.
Right. I think what really needs to be investigated is, can some of these materials that we build houses out of and so forth, can those kind of act as a recording medium of some sort,
Mhm.
or is it
Right.
possible? Is it possible that somehow or another people are psychically picking up what is going on in a particular location, or what has happened in a particular location, and actually manifesting it themselves?
Yeah.
In such a manner that, and to answer Linda's question, in such a manner that it can also be picked up on, digital or tape,
Other media, yeah.
some kind of media. So
I think it, also could be, referred to as, kind of a background static that not everybody picks up on, like Michael was saying, where mediums can pick up on that. But if it is background static, what I'd love to find out someday is, what is that background static? Is it part of the EMF frequency? Is it part of some other frequency that we haven't even thought about measuring yet?
Right.
And that's the
Right.
problem, is nothing that we're doing right now is quantifiable, because we don't know what any of these phenomena that we're experiencing are made of.
Well, and I would
Right.
add that we've seen studies have taken place that document, depending on your age, your health, the environment, you have an overall frequency your body emits. And I mean, if that changes by emotion, your health, environment, all these things, then it's also not static. So therefore, you could have a situation where your EMF meter, whether it's single axis or trifield, triple axis, or I'm sorry, trifield meter, it's only going to see it if it falls in that realm. Again, like the light, the holes lining up.
Right.
And so I think if your emotion is changing, like if in that scenario, that lady was in a particular emotion and it allowed it to show up and maybe could have been detected even at that time on some kind of piece of equipment that we're using right now.
Yeah.
It's always possible.
Yeah. And it could have been, like you're saying, an emotion, and then whatever it's vibrating at, lines up with what I am, what my body frequency is. And then that's how we were able to perceive it at that time. And my lovely wife, Molly's got a comment that maybe energy or spirit has memory, and memory can be wherever it doesn't necessarily get spun away with the Earth's rotation. And that's a great thought too.
Yeah. I think, talking about Molly's question or her response, you're dealing with apparitions. Obviously, we've several different organizations, the Ryan Research Organization and one over in Britain, that's the ibuprofen's messing with my brain at the moment, but they know that an apparition, so what would be termed as an intelligent, if you're watching the TV shows, free roam. They don't have to necessarily be stuck to a particular location. But when you're dealing with a haunting, another thing that we have to factor in is, what is the building built over? Are we looking at some sort of a magnetic situation where, it's almost like recording to a tape? That recording is always going to be on that specific tape. So whether or not the Earth is spinning, we know that that's always going to be on that tape unless there's an event that causes that tape to be erased, whether it's a magnetic anomaly where you get a magnet next to it or something and it completely just obliterates the recording.
Right.
And I think that we deal with that sometimes when we're dealing with hauntings. The same event that records this particular event on that particular piece of property, maybe the same event can destroy it as well. I mean, there's so many factors that we have to look at when we're dealing with these kind of situations, these different case studies. And that's why it pays dividends to return to a location like the Walker Ames house. I mean, the fact that you're afforded the ability to go back to the Walker Ames house anytime you want to conduct further research. It's all about data points and collecting all the information you can about a specific location to see if there's a way to correlate all that data into some sort of an answer.
Exactly, Pete. So you got one shot. Don't screw this up.
All right. I'm trying not to.
Pressure's on.
Oh God, we're screwed. No, great points. And where do you guys? That kind of makes me lean towards, where do you guys see current quantum physics research or current scientific research, and how is there any correlation to the paranormal field? I mean, what are you guys' thoughts? Is mainstream science going to catch up with paranormal theories or what we think is going on at some point? Are they getting anywhere close, or do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I have a
Michael.
thought. So, I mean, serious research isn't done unless it's seriously funded. Okay. So no one is going to fund something that isn't going to make them money.
Right. That makes sense.
So I don't ever see, unless, there's that multi-millionaire, billionaire out there that wants to do something great for the world and fund this research. I mean, you'll see news articles all the time. Most of what we kind of get in the paranormal realm, as far as anything paranormal related, is happenstance to another study or another practice. For instance, and that's where you'll see a lot of these things that come in on Facebook, these inane articles, scientists prove life after death, when that wasn't what the study was doing at all. It they just inferred that there were other possibilities. And from that, the writer of that particular article decided to sensationalize it.
100%.
Make a good headline.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I mean, so it's tough. So I mean, you've got a lot of Rhine Research Center, a few other places. Is it the Psychical? Casey and Greg?
SPR.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Wendy.
Hey, Wendy.
They all will actually do studies, but that is not the same as what a real well-founded research center will be able to produce. And really, there's no financial backing for it. So
Yeah.
you got plenty of garage scientists. Isn't that what was it Melbourne? What did he? Who was the guy, Bigfoot guy that you interviewed that one
Oh,
time?
citizen scientist.
Citizen scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what PRI does. I mean, we're citizen scientists, so to speak. Garage experiments.
Yeah, applying the scientific method. I mean, that's the best that we can do,
right?
Until we all become certified scientists,
or until Elon Musk funds me. But
yeah.
That sounds like a $35 thing with a diploma online. Certified scientist.
Where do I sign up?
Yeah, right.
No, great thoughts, and I think that the important thing to remember is just, we don't know, and I live by anything's possible, and experience. In my experience as a medium, I always try, like if I'm picking up on a spirit, I always try and ask where they are and how did they get here, that sort of thing. I never get any answers, or the winning lottery ticket answers for that matter.
Right.
But there, I just wish we could get the answers more easily. You know what I mean? The environmental stuff. Wendy says anything is possible, but some things are more likely than others. It's a good statement.
I always say never say never.
Right.
I think at some point, when everybody's on the same page, when everybody's doing the same research, sharing and doing the peer review, there may be some headway later on down the road. And I don't think it's going to be tomorrow or necessarily 20 years from now.
Right.
But, I think that at some point there may be some breakthrough, and that breakthrough may be that we're all completely nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. Or it's us versus demons.
At least we would have, at least we would have an answer. Yeah. Michael Beer says sharing information. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's something that not a normal thing.
I mean, a perfect example. I went on a big Bigfoot expedition with Ben and Michael Beers, and I was the odd man out. I don't believe. However, I'm open to the possibility that there is something out there that we have not yet found.
Sure.
And I love to think that, I love the research end of things. So I'm looking forward to going out again.
Yeah. I want to go out and see what happens too. I'm a believer though. I don't know. It's hard to keep me, I try my best.
I'm a believer too. I mean, I've had my experience and I can only go off that, but I totally understand where Casey's coming from. And I mean, it's just one of those things. You gotta do the research. You gotta get out there and experience it for yourself. And until you do, you're gonna be always one of those folks that are just like, I don't know,
It's a precarious situation to be in too, especially for someone like me who doesn't believe, because I've got two really good friends that have had these experiences, and trying to analyze it as they're talking about it, not yet experiencing what it is that they're talking about, is very difficult for me as a researcher, because I have to be there. I have to see the data.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that I don't believe their experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, great way to put it. And Wendy says, I want to travel north and see if I can find a dog man. There's some weird stuff out there.
Yeah,
I mean,
good luck.
carnivals have dog-faced boys, right? Does that count?
Yeah, I'm sure. Then Michael says, hey guys, we had some things happen that weekend. And
Yeah, we had some strange things happen, and it would be nice if we could back it with some kind of just proof rather than our personal experience. But
yeah,
you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. I mean, I swear to God, if Bigfoot walked in that door right there, I would totally ignore him while I was talking to you guys. And it's just because, every time we get proof of something or a proof of a new animal or something like that, that thing goes extinct in no time. So better off just left alone.
What does Bigfoot have? How does he have a key to your house? Is my question. But Ben,
Casey's asking the real questions here.
I know.
Well, Ben, what did we learn about that situation where something was going on outside our tents, but all of our trail cameras were about a mile away?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. This is true. There's something always to learn, and I'm not above it. Mistakes were made, and that was one thing that, in retrospect, we were like, we should have had a camera on camp.
Yeah.
So
don't dwell on it. Just remember it, and then apply it the next time.
Yep.
Gosh, you should have learned that just watching the Blair Witch Project, man.
Oh man, I remember when that movie came out. I saw it it wasn't an IMAX theater, but the Michael Beers. I'm not about proving, just gaining more life experiences, and that's great. Mm-hmm. When he says great philosophy, yeah. When I saw Blair Witch Project when it came out in the theaters, it was one of those with the stadium style seating, that was pretty steep. Oh, I kept getting sick.
Yeah,
just from
the way the camera was.
Yeah. Oh, that was horrible.
Still a more believable movie than Zach Bagans' Demon House.
Right? I still watch Blair Witch Project. I don't watch Demon House.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, I wanted to get into a couple other subjects here while I've got you guys. And again, this is the Paranormal Pete Show. I'm your host, Pete Orbea. We're joined tonight by Michael White, Ben Robison, and Casey Goodwin from the League of Extrasensory Gentlemen. And it's just a treat to have you guys on here, missing the other guys from the league, but celebrating 1 year anniversary of this show, and appreciate all the support you guys have given throughout this past year, and Casey being my first guest. And, I really appreciate all the support you guys have given me through this whole time. But I want to get into parapsychology. And you guys are probably thinking, oh man, how many hours do we have? No. But more specifically, how can parapsychology be applied to investigation for people on teams out there? What are some of I guess let's start with can you briefly say, what are some of the tenets of parapsychology? And then we'll go from there.
Michael.
Wow, this question would be answered so much better if Neil was here right now, because that is his ball of wax. That guy knows parapsychology better than any person I have ever met in my life. From the history of it and everything. But essentially, it is and has been a science for a long time. And really, if the paranormal community wanted to be taken a bit more seriously, they would start studying parapsychology, learning the correct terminology to use, and how to use it. I heard not too long ago someone speaking to a group, and they said, well, there's really, the terms don't mean anything because, there's really no standard. Well, wrong. There are standards. I think if everybody would just get a slight understanding of parapsychology and reading up. And once again, it's just this book alone would give you enough of foundation into just general parapsychology
Absolutely.
to act. If all the teams were using familiar terms, had a familiar understanding, and shared information, and like Michael Beer said not too long ago, ego plays a big part of that. And if people set those aside, we might be taken more seriously as a community.
Yeah. It's also, asking the right questions during interviews, knowing what kind of questions to ask for specific cases. I mean, and again, going back to Lloyd's book, I mean, he lays it out for everybody. Yeah. It's not that hard. I mean, even if you don't read the entire book, you get a sense of what it is he's doing as a researcher just by looking at his very, very detailed questionnaire. And not just the client questionnaire. We're talking about, it's like a 4 or 5 page questionnaire that's for, if you're bringing in a psychic medium, and that it was the same questions that were developed by Gertrude Smeedler when she started working with deep trance mediums and psychics and all that stuff. Yeah. And there's a world of knowledge out there outside of TV that a lot of people don't know about.
Right.
Yeah, I think the history of it all and how, the people originally starting it in the Society for Psychical Research, look at the time period they were in. Yeah, there was the spiritualist movement. Those guys were taking some pretty big risks from their careers to study this and kind of form this field of psychical research. It's pretty amazing, when you think about the types of scientists they were, and then going out and whether it was to disprove mediums or because of their own experiences and wanted to explore what is the afterlife. It's pretty amazing to think where it came from and the big risks that they took. And I think in some ways we're still taking risks in some ways, with what we do in research or what I do as a medium and what you guys do, and the type of research that you do, we're all still kind of taking some kind of risk, but it's just, I think, less than what they were. But I think just the history of the whole thing is pretty cool. But any thoughts on that?
I think, looking back at the history, you hit the nail on the head. Most of these people that were, part of the Ghost Club, part of the SPR, part of Rhine Research, they were all accredited in some field of science. William G. Rawl, I mean, he was a psychologist at Duke University and then started, researching the RSPK phenomena. I mean, they had a lot writing on it.
Yeah. It's amazing that the risks that they took, and hopefully the risks aren't quite the same for people like us, but putting that risk hopefully will advance the field. And I totally agree with Michael's point of if there was some set of standards and terminology that everybody, if they could follow some of these, the standards that have been set, that we may be taken more credibly. And I think that that's probably another factor in this whole thing too, is to be taken credibly.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't it technically be like para-unity, that term that I'm not a big fan of? Yeah, but like really, if you were to break it down and everybody was knowledge in parapsychology and they were sharing information and anomalies caught, if they were, collaborating and all this stuff, wouldn't that technically be then para-unity? Because I think it would be, because everybody would be for the same cause.
I think there's two different para-unity camps. So you've got, the ones that cry para-unity the minute you call them out on their BS, because they're not in it for the same reasons that everybody else is in. And, and that's most of the field. It's not all of the field. And then there are the people that use para-unity as a form of, working together with other teams.
Right, and that's what
which
I'm
is
really-
fine. But I think para-unity comes with the baggage that Ghost Hunter has.
Yeah, it does. Unfortunately, it's got a negative connotation going on as well. But my point was, if we were to do it what we would think would be ideal as this para unity, I think that's where it would have to be. I think you know,
never hear a doctor yell medical unity.
yeah, they don't.
I just pictured that.
I just like it to. I'd like that term to go away. I do totally 100% agree with Ben. As I think there will be at some point a point where there is a bit of unity on procedures and protocols and how everybody goes about it. But when is anybody's guess.
Right.
Yes, exactly. Well, hey guys, we're going to take a quick station break here. It's 21 past the second hour here on the Paranormal Pete Show with special guest Michael White, Ben Robison, and Casey Goodwin. I'm your host, Pete Orbea, on the 1-year anniversary show of this, the Paranormal Pete Show. We'll be right back after we pay the station bills here. Always got to do that. Here we go.
Looking to launch your new masterpiece? Then try something new with Moonbow Publishing and Publications. At Moonbow, we have a strong desire to serve authors in a powerful and meaningful way. After all, you've poured your heart and soul into your writing, and we fully understand and respect that. Remember this: you will own the copyright to your work. You will have the final say on your work before published. Even after all of that, we've saved the best for last. We won't take a percentage sold. Nope, not a penny. Excited about MoonbowPublications.com yet? We thought so. Take advantage of our company's services like book editing, formatting, and covers, publishing, and photography. Moonbow Publishing and Publications has everything you're looking for in a company. Remember, we will not keep any commissions. We are a boutique publishing company focusing on spiritual, health and wellness, and personal growth genres. So come and see what we can do for you at MoonbowPublications.com. That's MoonbowPublications.com. Moonbow Publications, a new kind of publishing company.
All right, welcome back and to the Paranormal Pete Show on WLTK-DB.com. This is episode 44 with the League of Extrasensory Gentlemen, 3/5 of the gents. And I'm going to go ahead and put Molly, my lovely wife Molly, posted the name of the book, Lloyd's book, again. So for those people interested, write that down. Yep, there you go.
There's another good one, Foundations of Parapsychology.
Nice.
It goes into quite a bit of detail on what's been done so far in the field and kind of the limitations, at least for when it was written.
I personally stick with this one.
What is that one?
Necronomicon, man.
Yeah, Nosferatu. Yeah. I'm gonna have to watch those movies again. It's been a while. That's great. So, okay, well, how? Let me ask this, and then I got a couple other topics I want to get into. So, with your guys' knowledge of parapsychology and the readings you've done, and how have you applied that to investigations? How have you? Is there some direct way you've applied it, or is it just the thinking and the approach? What have you guys taken from that and applied to in your investigations?
I think honestly, the interview process was probably one of the biggest things for me. Reading from other folks who have done it, like Lloyd Auerbach, it helped me further my preliminary study of a case, which I think was the foundation of it, how it would play out, especially like I talked about earlier, when you hear the claims in the beginning and how crazy they are, and then you dig in and you drill in and you get a little bit more information.
Right.
Being thorough in that respect is probably the biggest piece that I've incorporated into my investigations or case studies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Awesome.
go ahead.
No, go ahead, Casey.
When I founded Oregon Paranormal, and even before that, a lot of my research was, mainly, doing stakeouts and, doing, typical ghost hunts and things like that. And what really got me more in the parapsychological end of things as far as research goes was realizing that, we've got clients that are calling that have an issue, and we can't just go in, investigate the place, go home, look at all the data we collected and say, oh, this is what we did or didn't find, and blah, 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 case closed. We ended up, like Ben said, we changed the way we asked our questions, the whole preliminary process. I mean, there's steps that we take before we even go into an investigation, a huge vetting process, taking all that information, reviewing it as a core team, deciding whether or not it's something we want to pursue. Then when we're done there, it's doing a little bit of background information on the clients, looking at medical history, looking at different medications. What are the side effects of those medications? Talking with structural engineers and electrical engineers and plumbers and things, and incorporating that into the case study as well. And also the longevity of a case study. A typical case study for Oregon Paranormal back in the day was maybe a month. Now we'll do a case, and that case can be anywhere from 8 months to a year,
Right.
Depending on the severity, or, it changes every time you go to the location. It's something, you may pick up something different, or you may get more information from another eyewitness or a different piece of information from the client, having them fill out this journal. We usually will have them fill out 3 months worth of log of information for the events. How long did the event last? What led up to the event? What was your mood like? How were you feeling? Are you stressed out? Things that, we never would have thought about originally until we start thinking about, well, the human body is a powerful tool. It can work with you and it can work against you. Same with the brain and all that stuff. And that is a lot of the foundation that parapsychology works on. Is a lot of times they find out that what's going on is simply in the person's head, whether they're conscious of it or not. I mean, you right. Look at poltergeist phenomena again, and you're dealing with the agent. And those are things that we have to consider now. And as ghost hunters, they weren't things we were considering. We were just in there collecting EVPs or trying to get a photo or whatnot. We weren't trying to find out the what, the why, the hows, the whens,
right,
all that stuff. And so that's how I think we've been able to incorporate, the fundamentals of parapsychology into our work without being parapsychologists per se.
Right. I think I agree exactly with what Ben and Casey were saying. I think having that foundation of understanding allows you to look at the situation more in depth, instead of just the superficial end. There's a ghost and we're going to go catch it.
Right.
That's one dimensional to me. What Michael just said, it comes across as and Casey's said this, I don't know how many times. It amazes me the mindset some people go in to a case study or investigation, whatever they call it, but they're like posting on their Facebook page saying, can't wait until we get, see what evidence we caught. And it's like, dude, you don't even know if you're going to catch anything. Like, don't set yourself up like that,
Yeah. Right. I think, no, go ahead, Casey.
No, go finish your thought and then we can.
Well, I was going to say that's a beautiful segue into a topic that I wanted to bring up and throw it to Michael to start this one. That's right. You up there. Yep.
I'll stop eating popcorn.
I like how you're eating it with the chopsticks.
Yeah, that's
really
you don't get this goop on your fingers that way.
Yeah.
Pretty clever.
So something I wanted to bring up was cognitive bias. And I think, Ben was in a way kind of setting that up, and so Michael, can you talk about cognitive bias and how that can work for the better for someone researching the paranormal? Maybe they're going to be doing investigations, but just talk a little bit about cognitive bias and what it means to you.
Well, essentially, a cognitive bias is if you have a strong belief system in something and you do an investigation, the evidence that you collect is going to confirm your belief structure. And that could mean also that you're ignoring everything that would deny your beliefs. You might totally ignore it. You might not. And this is not consciously done. Okay, this is subconsciously done. So, for instance, somebody who believes that dust and moisture captured on film, normally called orbs, are presence of spirits. When they take that picture in that dusty, moisture-ridden basement, they're going to have all these orbs there, and then they'll use that as evidence that there was a lot of spirit activity.
Right.
So it isn't evidence as much as it is just an example of cognitive bias.
What I love about the orb thing is they'll take a series of photos, and the orb is here,
Yeah.
and then it's here, and then it's gone. They said it was following a trajectory. It's like, well, yeah, because the dust is in the wind, or it's in the airstream.
Single time, that's exactly how it plays out too. They're like, they bring up the camera and they're like, look, it's not there in this one, it's there in this one, and it's not there, and it's just like,
right.
You gotta
and it
practice a
usually
level of
follows,
humility.
especially if it's captured on a digital camera, IR camera.
Mm-hmm.
It's only visible when it goes through that field of IR light, because that's when it really wants to be known that it's a spirit. So
there's a level of humility that you have to have in this field, because what you think is a drawer opening or something moving, the more you listen to it, the more you start to realize, oh, that's the van door sliding closed, or something else,
or water pipes or something.
A lot of people are so afraid to be called out for something, and it's okay, it's okay not to have the answers when somebody asks you a question about something. It's okay to say, I don't have an answer now, but I'll get back to you. And it's also okay to say, I was wrong.
Yeah. That's leaving your ego back at home.
Yeah.
And that's part of integrity.
Yeah.
But you've got to be grounded.
You got to own it. I was just gonna say, you got to own it. And if that means you have to swallow a jagged pill, you do it, but you do it for the sake of the field. You don't do it for selfish reasons,
Right. That 15 minutes of fame.
Exactly.
Yeah. You've got to stay grounded, and you've got to be objective, and you've got to approach every case as unbiased as you can. I mean, there will always be a level of bias, but you've got to be able to keep it in check.
Right.
Because, there's a lot of times you go into a house and you really want to help this family, but you're not getting anything. And, it'll weigh on you, and it'll weigh on the other members of your team. But in the end, you have to present the information you collected. And if there's nothing there, there's nothing there. It doesn't mean that that we haven't caught anything. It just means that we have to keep the case open and just keep collecting that data for as long as they want us to. Yeah.
You got to be there for those times where, as Ben was saying, everything will line up there. Yeah. And Michael's got a comment here. If a cup falls off something, people say, oh, that was Fred's favorite cup, so he must be communicating with us. People build stories around an event.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that goes into your belief system.
Exactly. That's a cognitive bias, especially when, say a family member passed away in a house, and they're like, oh, that's got to be Fred. he's talking to us, and it's just like, yeah, but we don't know. So we can't draw these conclusions, but people build it based on the belief they
Sure.
have.
You know, it's funny. My office at work, I have this Hellboy statue. I've got it sitting on one of my shelves, and there was a period of time where it was moving, and I kept thinking, like, what the hell are the cleaning crew doing? Why are they moving my stuff?
Yeah.
They're just responsible for vacuuming and emptying out, recycling and trash. But it kept happening, and like he would be facing another direction, and this happened multiple times. So when I bought a GoPro, the beautiful thing about GoPro is you could put a big SD card in it, and you can set it for time lapse. So I set my time lapse, and sure enough, I'm watching this statue like move on its own accord. Now I could have sat there and took it at face value and said, "Holy crap, my cubicle's haunted," and it is, it likes Hellboy.
Yeah.
But what I needed to factor in was what was going on, and they were doing major construction outside. Like they had Main Street dug up, and when those backhoes are working, the building is shaking.
Right.
And what was happening is on top of dealing with the regular day-to-day traffic, the construction vibration or the infrasound or whatever was causing it to move ever so slightly. But it's like that scene in Poltergeist when he's like, I recorded a Matchbox car go the distance of 20 feet in the matter of 48 hours,
Right.
or something like that, to do its duration. And that was exactly what the situation was, but it wasn't paranormal.
Must have been fun to watch at first. Like, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I thought someone was screwing with me.
But
It happened
my question,
like clockwork.
my question to you, Casey, is how do you know it wasn't a sloth ghost?
Oh, see, you got to be open to anything, Pete.
That open mind, or makes me think of the Ghost, the BBC, the British version Ghost, with the guy who moves things with his. It just barely moves. Yeah, open minds,
Yeah,
right,
open
Michael?
minds.
Open minds.
What a great show.
Yeah. Yeah, we had Wendy Schindler commented, we had steam heat radiators where I investigated Saturday night. The girls were not happy that I was telling them those things have more snap, crackle, pop than a bowl of Rice Krispies. LOL.
That's pretty good.
Remembering those things.
Yeah.
And well, we got a shout out to I hope I say it right, Earther Aliens. Thanks for watching. Greetings, Earthlings. So great conversation on the cognitive bias, and I think most people don't remember that sort of thing, and I certainly don't every time, but it's
Uh-oh.
Well, it's our show now, guys.
It's our show. We took it over.
I guess while he's reconnecting, should we just continue the conversation?
I think we should.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
Confirmation bias. What about that?
What in the heck? That's so weird.
Think about confirmation bias, for example, where you're with somebody on an investigation, and then they say, person A says, "Oh, I just heard that," and then the other person goes, "Oh, I heard that too."
Right.
But a lot of times they didn't hear that. They're just confirming somebody else's experience, and I see
suggestibility.
that. Yeah, I see that all the time.
Exactly. Hey, can you guys see and hear me? I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
I think
it was that sloth ghost. Slowly getting to the
I love that character. He's awesome.
So I was going to add one thing you were talking about. That was a great example about your Hellboy statue moving. There's been places too, local places in the Pacific Northwest, we'll leave it at that have claimed that they were haunted, and it's because they've had pins or things like that fall down, but their location is in a very historic, busy just old built road, and it vibrates a lot. And so, you know, it was like we gotta consider that as being a factor instead of jumping to that, you know, immediate, okay, it's a ghost.
I know where you're talking about, and I know
Yeah.
for a fact if we were to put a geophone on the sidewalk, that thing would light up like a Christmas tree because of the
would.
vibration of the
It would.
traffic.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, let me tell you guys about this. I don't know if I may have shared this story with you guys before. And this is, you know, something happened that I can't explain, and may speak to psychokinesis. But now this is before I started doing paranormal investigation and research, you know, but it was here in Port Gamble, and I was working in this place, and it was a sign shop. And basically, I was kind of leaned up against a big carriage door working off a set of sawhorses. I just cut some aluminum sign panels. And so I was trying to clean the edges and was using a utility knife blade. And that wasn't doing quite what I wanted. So I went and I grabbed a standard 12-inch flat metal file and used that on the sign blanks. And that kind of did a little too much. And so that wasn't what I needed. And so I walked over about 7 to 8 feet from my sawhorses, placed the file on a 4x8 work table. And it's something that we would use to paint on. So it was a very level table. And I set it on there, and I went back to doing what I was doing, and with the utility knife blade. And then all of a sudden, something brushed my pant leg and hit the wall, the carriage door. It was wooden. And so I hear an impact, and then I hear a ding and like metal clinging on the floor because it was a concrete floor. I look down, and there's that file that I had just placed on the table. It's no longer on the table, and it was flat, mind you. It wasn't like a cylindrical file. It was flat. And I could not explain how that went from this table 7 to 8 feet away and hit the wall before hitting the ground. What do you guys think of that? Now, this is before I got into, you know, paranormal investigation or anything like that. And so I would say my beliefs were open, but skeptical. What do you guys think of that experience?
I think that's an experience that you would really have to be there and experience it. I personally, I would just call it an unexplained phenomenon.
Yeah.
If I was going to use the TV paranormal show vernacular, I would say that it's either a demon or an Iceman.
Iceman.
Well, Michael, I think the words you use, unexplained, I share this story on my tours, and that's how I usually leave it. It was just something I couldn't explain.
Yeah.
And that's fine. You know, I think there's too many people that want closure. They want to label it, or they want to explain it. But there's going to be those times where you don't know.
Yeah, it's okay to not have closure to these things, but I get why people would like it. I mean,
Right.
An unnerving thing like that, you know, they're like, I need to know.
But were you as unnerved or as interested in the activity? I mean, what was your predominant reaction?
I thought it was cool. Yeah. Is something going on weird with my computer? What's going on here? Can you guys hear me?
Video is
your video is a little.
Okay, there we go. I'm back. Okay, hang on.
Did you pay your bill this year?
I forgot to turn the.
Pete, we can't hear you.
You know, back in the day when this would happen to a television, they would come see me at Save On drugstores, and I would actually test all the tubes in a tube tester.
Nice.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot to turn the power strip on that had my computer plugged in, so my computer almost died.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it sounds like you guys can hear me.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Technical difficulties, damn it. Back to you, Michael. Okay, well, I'll move on from that because I'm trying to make sure this thing keeps running here. So, we got just a little bit of time left, and
Wow.
what are some good points that you could put out there for people on different teams? Maybe they're starting out, newer to this, on how you guys document your investigations. What are some good tips? Of course, one is going to be writing down. Look at this. Remember this?
Ah,
Yeah.
Writing down and logging things. But what are some good tips for documenting your investigation? And if you do collect any evidence out of your data, how do you document it? What are some good tips you guys have picked up over the years on documenting?
we teach a course called Paranormal Boot Camp 101 that covers
Right.
all of the entry level stuff. But I think it just comes down to how serious are they about doing the research? Do they just want to? Are they just getting into it to experience something? Because there's nothing wrong with that, but just realize that you shouldn't be working with people that need help. If that's the case. But if you do seriously want to do the research, reach out to some respected groups that are doing long-term research studies, that are doing experiments like what Michael does.
Yeah.
I think
ahead,
that
Michael.
when it comes to documentation, nothing is too trivial. You have a feeling, you have a sense, you observe something, you hear something, you're writing it down. All of that eventually is going to be put into a giant pile. I have a tendency when I do the experiments with you guys, because you're also, part of PRI. So I love.
When do we get our shirts?
What's that?
When do we get our shirts?
I can't even afford a website anymore, man. I put everything into an Excel file from all data sources, from investigators to the equipment logs, everything, and finding out where all those correlations are, because it's those correlations that's going to give you evidence. One piece of information might not. But I was just Port Campbell Ghost Conference. Linda Myers and Bob Mathern. I think that's how you say his last name. Great guy. I just can't pronounce names like ASAP. They gave a great lecture on documentation, and they were talking about thorough documentation. It doesn't matter how trivial. And it was like, wow, it sounds like exactly what I've always said about it. But being as detailed as you possibly can so that it can all be combined, because it's that combination of all the data sources from all that documentation that's actually going to give you basically a chronological order of what happened during your investigation or your experiment or your event, whatever. And that includes all of your cameras and your digital audio, everything. When I run an experiment, I'm putting all the equipment, turning it all on at the same time, doing one timestamp for all of it, so that I know that they all have a beginning and I'll know when the end is. So it's pretty easy to correlate all that data using that information. So documentation isn't just the written documentation, but it's also the equipment also that has a timestamp.
And don't just focus on the the inside of the location. I mean, we're looking at like, what's the weather doing outside that day? What's the barometric pressure? Because we know that barometric pressure messes with your blood pressure and can cause a whole list of other things that could potentially cause hallucinations. So look at outside factors as well: traffic, running water. What is the building built over?
Right.
It may seem stupid, but it's all, like Michael said, it's all data that's being compiled to hopefully paint this big, broad picture of what it is we're looking for.
Well, and
Yeah,
I always look at it like it's like a puzzle. We're getting pieces to that puzzle. So, data that we collect, whether it's from initial interviews down to the investigation, research, historical, land, whatever. But I mean, it's even important to know things like, hey, do you keep loaded weapons in your home? Do there's safety, there's all these things that are important to learning about it, to not put yourself, because a lot of teams they approach their investigations from like a spiritual aspect. Well, let's protect ourselves, ground and center. That's good, I'm not knocking that, but you also have to protect yourself against being in
physical.
bad scenario. Yeah. There's down to like Casey was the first group I ever knew that was doing this. They interview their clients in their preliminary walkthrough or interview process. They put a camera on them as well,
And we're all naked.
Yeah,
It's weird, but it works.
they put it right on them, but no, they put a camera on the client, and they review that to see if there's any body language that they can pick up and things like that. This is all critical as well to the interview process, and I would concur with these guys on that.
Yeah. Well, and I think another part to documenting, as far as nothing is too trivial. Michael, when you were on the show beginning of this year or end of last year, when you were on the show, you mentioned you almost would rather observe the investigators.
Yes.
And that's another part to, I think, documenting it is having somebody to kind of, Oregon Paranormal would, videotape their interview with the client, but during the investigation, I think it's important too if you have somebody kind of monitoring the investigators and maybe doing a separate set of documentation that way, because
Exactly.
then you might find correlations with, oh, I got an EVP.
Right.
Well, no, this person in this part of the house made this sound.
Right.
You find a correlation that way.
And that's the main job, other than safety, of the base of operations. The person who's sitting there with the big monitor looking at all the cameras and stuff, that person should also be tracking where the teams are in the location, and for the safety aspect, for the cross-contamination aspect. And one thing I mentioned at the conference, somebody was talking about EVPs. I said, people are putting digital DAR, a digital audio recorder, in a particular space, and then they're doing an EVP session. But what they're not doing is taking that and also putting a DAR outside the location, like physically could be even outside the building, so that when they do get that marvelous EVP, the one outside might be telling you it's somebody walking by.
Yeah. And we've gone as far as to we've been afforded the ability, especially working collaboratively, to have a couple DVR systems, surveillance systems, and we would set one up so that way we had one outside and inside. So that way we could take it to the next level, what Michael's talking about.
Yeah.
Ben, during an investigation, this was a few years back, we were doing a local case, and I think I hear or see Ben like motion to somebody on the video screen. He's like, and he goes running down the hallway. And I had an audio recorder rolling in another part of the house, and all I hear is thum, 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 but nobody on camera is reacting. And I'm sitting going like, how did they not hear that? I had to take my headphones off. It was so loud. But I found the piece of video footage that went with the audio, and I realized Ben was, I don't know if he was testing me.
I was.
I stitched the video together and I sent it to him. I was like, you a-hole. Nice try.
And you got me.
No, busted.
Yeah.
No, great points, and Mike Bear said it was a good point on my part, but I remembered, Michael, you talking about that while you were on the show, of
Oh, wow.
somebody observing the investigators too,
Right.
and you may catch them having a personal experience. They might get something cool, like all of a sudden, you see their hoodie moving around or whatever. So it's always good to observe the investigators.
It
And
also
guys,
keeps people honest too
yeah,
in
'cause,
some situations.
yeah, there's always people who mess around, Ben. But I'm just kidding, not
I'm
always
innocent.
you, Ben. But yeah, no, it helps your team run a more credible, investigation, I
Right.
think. And that's really, hopefully, what all teams' goals should be, is to be credible in what you're doing. But that's all in setting your intent and knowing why you're doing this. If you're doing it for the
Absolutely.
thrill of it,
Right.
then make it known. That's
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Right.
Stick with it. If you're doing it for the research and you're interested in the research, that's what you put out there, and that's what you do and pursue. And so, I think there's, something for everybody in this, but having your intention set first, and then being pragmatic about everything is as best you can. But see, that's why I know guys like you. They keep people like me grounded when having, strange experiences. So we're out of time. Time's flying by. And I want to thank each and every one of you guys, Michael, Ben, and Casey. Thanks so much for doing this tonight. And Casey, hope you feel better, and thanks for making it in. And
I'm hitting that threshold. My back's starting to
yeah,
really give
well,
it to me right
we're
now.
done, bro. So, but thank you all for taking the time to do this and sharing your thoughts and perspectives. And we'll have to do this again. I love getting your guys' different perspectives and that going on. Mike's Beers, here's to many more episodes. Pete, congratulations. Thank you guys for being on the show. Casey, hope your back is better soon.
Thanks,
So
Michael.
we'll all send you those healing thoughts. But thank you guys for taking the time seriously, and for being guests and friends of the show, and always
Pleasure.
supporting. I really, really appreciate it. And I am looking forward to many more episodes. And in fact, I've got the rest of the year booked here, and for guests. And next week I've got researcher Mark Marcel, who is kind of the foremost guy on the Ape Canyon stories and research in the Mount St. Helens area. And thanks, Kristen. And he's actually got a story that ties in with Port Gamble, so I'm really interested to hear what he's got there. And I believe he's also going to be talking about Tacoma's electric sea monster that was reported in the late 1800s. So that should be interesting hearing that as well. So I got Mark Marcel coming on next Tuesday. Thanks, Wendy. And then I've got ufologist and former police detective Jim Clarkson coming on the show on the 30th. And so I'm really looking forward to that. And then I've got my producer, Michael Beers, coming on December 7th. And I'm sure we're going to get into some real cool, deep stuff. And so hopefully you'll all be ready for that. And then on December 14th, I've got researcher Ginger Lockwood coming on the show. And a couple of housekeeping. The station will not be doing any live shows December 20th through January 3rd. So January 4th will be the next time live shows will be taking place. But until during that break, hopefully everyone can catch up on the archived versions of the shows. And stay tuned to the Permanence, a paranormal case study. These guys made a big announcement this morning, and they'll be making some other announcements once we get into the new year. So be sure you stay tuned. You can also check out acep.org and OregonParanormal.com, and to stay tuned with what these guys are up to. So I look forward to seeing what the future brings with you guys, and wherever it takes you. And wishing you guys the best for a good holiday season, and hopefully not freezing tundra this winter and getting snowed in and all that fun stuff.
Right.
So, but thanks you guys again so much. I really appreciate your support in the show and coming on here. And look forward to doing more of that with you in the future. And I always leave leave every show with a toast and a special thanks to each and every one out there listening and watching, that the past is history, the future's a mystery, but today's a gift because it's the present. So take time each day, and take stock what you've got. Be in the moment. Quit thinking about yesterday. Don't think about tomorrow, but take some time each day to think about right now. Hug the ones you're with and hug everyone else virtually a while longer. And we'll see y'all next week. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, Pete.
All right, you guys. Take care.
All right.